This message has no affiliation with the Department of War. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rebecca Cow, and today I'm taking over. I'm interviewing the host and founder of the Martin Memo, so we can all learn a little more about the voice of this podcast. Once again, I'm Rebecca Cow, and this is the Martin Memo.
The Martin Memo.
All right, Martin. Welcome to your own podcast.
Well, it feels a little bit weird being on the other side,
Yeah.
but here we go.
I had to make you sit over there because you're the one getting interviewed today.
I know, what a pleasure. This is
All
great.
right. Would you like to tell everyone about yourself?
Well, sure. For those of you who do not know me, I am Zachary Martin. I'm the founder of this wonderful podcast. I'm 23. I'm in the U.S. Army, and I mean, I guess that's kind of it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. One of my favorite pastimes is fostering dogs. I currently have one right now. Maybe I'll adopt her. Who knows?
I think you should. You've had her for a while.
Yeah.
So, when we're listening to the Martin Memo, we get to hear you talk about your beliefs as a conservative Republican. But I'd like to know why you believe in conservative Republican values, and when did you really start to think about and look into your beliefs as a person on the right?
So I guess I can really picture one moment in time where I decided that I was truly a conservative. I was watching the debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. I believe that was in 2012. And I just remember, first of all, being fascinated with politics and thinking, I want to be on that stage one day. I want to be out there. I want to be representing the country. And then my family traditionally has been pretty conservative. So from that point, I started looking at the conservative platform. And then as I started figuring out what's right and what's wrong, then I made the conscious decision that I'm a conservative, and here we are. I would say the biggest thing that made me decide that I was a conservative was just looking between the differences between the left and the right. It just feels like the left is going farther and farther off the deep end. Additionally, I believe in low government intervention. And I also believe in peace and prosperity and freedom. And I feel like the other side is going more and more towards the socialist communist trend. And that is something that I do not want to see for this country and for America as a whole.
Yeah. All right. And then you've also mentioned before that you are a Christian. I'd like to know, why are you a Christian? And what do you think separates Christianity from other religions and makes it trustworthy and reliable?
My faith really stemmed from an early age. As far as I can remember, I was always going to Sunday school. I was going to the summer programs that the church provided, which I hope they really get back to that. I noticed kind of since COVID happened that the churches really fell off in that regard. They're a lot more inward and not so much outgoing and doing things within the local community. So I do hope they get back to that.
Is there any moment where you maybe fell away from the Christian faith and then found it again and made it your own instead of just your family's?
I would say there's a couple defining points in my life where I decided that I was a Christian and I just knew that that was the right way forward. There was a time that I had mentioned in, I think, my second podcast where I almost took my life, and I really did hear God's voice tell me, like, this is not the right way. This is like, there are so many better options. You don't know what you're about to miss out on. And then recently, actually this summer, I took a little leave. I went to Florida, and it was my 23rd birthday. There was plenty of drinking involved and different things like that. And after all of that wore off, I was just alone in my thoughts, and I felt like God spoke to me, and he said, listen, you keep saying you want this, you keep saying you want to get married, you keep saying you want kids, but what are you doing to show that? And that was just kind of the moment that I really had a wake-up call. Like I mentioned before, now I've been reading the Bible every single day. I've been trying to grow myself within my faith. And I just also believe that Christ is king. So it's as simple as that. I haven't really studied the other religions enough to know if they're right or wrong, but I know that my faith is deeply saturated within the Christian religion, and I don't think that anything could change that.
All right. Yeah. Have you faced any persecution for your faith? And if so, how did you go about facing that persecution?
I wouldn't say that I've necessarily gotten persecuted for my faith, but there have been a couple wake-up calls. For instance, there's just a lot of people, unfortunately, online and through interactions as simple as this, who I mention I'm a Christian and instantly I'm the devil for whatever, an oxymoron, if you will. But instantly there's just a hatred because I'm a Christian. So I guess that's kind of the biggest struggles that I face, because as much as I just say it's as simple as that, I mean, it's with every daily interaction. I shouldn't say every daily, but it's through a lot of interactions that immediately people will shy away. Immediately people will invalidate whatever I have to say.
So, with that being said, do you think there's any certain reason why the world could be going so cold against Christianity?
I do, as a matter of fact. So currently, I am reading that big book behind you called Capital, and it's the Communist Socialist Manifesto, if you will. So in it literally breaks it down how they want to strip religion from everything because they don't want you following anything besides the government. And if you see that within the modern day left, you can see that being played out across the board. I think they really try to demonize and take away Christianity and make you rely on the government more than anything because they want you to be faithful to the government. They don't want you to be faithful to any religion, your family, your friends. They want you completely isolated and alienated. So I feel like that's definitely something that's being played out. And additionally, they just keep stripping it from every aspect of our life, like I mentioned earlier. They want to take it out of schools. They want to take it out of Congress with the different sayings that are inscribed across the wall. They want to take it out of everything. And that is why just every day it seems like we're straying away further and further from God.
Yeah, I think that when you're able to take away religion and religious values, you're able to also take away the family unit and take away some things that are very important in each individual person's life. I think one of the most important things is having a stable family unit. And I think that when you're taking religion away and making a dependency on the government, you kind of take away the importance of just family and being able to work for your own food and create your own life, work for your own life, build your own life.
Right. And I will say that this isn't just some revelation that has played out in the last like 5 to 10 years. Like we've really seen it amped up. This is a 100-year plan. It even says it in the book. This is a 100-year plan. And you could even see it go back into like the 60s, 70s. And I want to find the exact thing. So I'm not going to say exactly what it is. But there was a rule or there was a law saying that you could not receive benefits. This was more against the black family than anything if there was like a father figure in the household, if there was a man in the
Yeah.
household. So a lot of these single black mothers, unfortunately, did not have a person in the household and they were just relying off these benefits from the government. And that's kind of where it really started and really where it took off.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like the benefits that you're able to get from not having a family, it's almost like it's incentivized to
Right.
some extent.
Right. And we look at this government shutdown that's unfortunately still going on over a month now and SNAP benefits. Did you know 42 million Americans are on SNAP benefits? Like that's a
Crazy.
staggering number, actually, if you really think about it. That is 1 in 7, basically 1 in 8 Americans are on SNAP benefits. That is really scary.
Mhm. Yeah, I think if you strip away religion, then you kind of have to depend on something. But do you really want to depend on the government? When
Absolutely
something
not.
like this could happen and then you lose all your SNAP
Right.
benefits,
Yeah.
you're putting your faith in something that doesn't actually care about you that much.
Yeah.
What made you want to start this podcast? And then was there any certain point where you're like, I absolutely need to start this podcast? Like maybe you were thinking about it for a while and then one moment maybe just made you, I'm going to start this podcast.
So, like you already said, I've been wanting to do something. I wanted to do something that was in the political atmosphere. I in the military, so I can't really run for office currently. So I wanted to somehow voice my platform and get out there and show my values and show what I believe in and kind of get some support. So when I do get the opportunity to run for office, I'm able to, and there will be more of a smooth transition. And then I can also prep by doing like these interviews and kind of get my nerves a little bit relaxed there and everything by doing this. But the big defining moment, it was kind of in the back of my mind. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I was looking at different options, maybe being a local intern for one of the candidates here. I actually met with a couple congressmen to talk about that. And then the Charlie Kirk assassination happened. And I remember that day just kind of laying in bed and saying, like I was hurt. It hit me a different way that I don't feel like it hit most people. I just remember being sick to the core. I remember it feeling like my heart was breaking, and I didn't even know this man. I just seen a few clips of his online and watched a few of his different speeches, but it really hit me hard. And I remember laying in bed that night, cuddled up next to my foster dog Demira, and just saying, I'm not going to let your voice go silent. I will pick up that microphone. And then Ben Shapiro in like the next week's episode had said, pick up the bloody microphone, and continue the fight. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. So that was kind of the defining moment on why I founded this movement. So here we go. I think this is the 7th week in. So very proud of it.
Yeah, that being said, that ties into my next question. Why do you believe that what you're doing in making this podcast is right or important?
Yeah, I feel like this is the right thing to do, first of all, so I can get my beliefs out there and so people can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Also, as much as there's a lot of great conservative podcasts out there, there's also a lot of negative ones. And I'm not really going to say any names, but there's a couple on my mind that I'm like, you're giving the conservative image a bad name right now. And if like you become the forefront of the party and you pick up kind of where Charlie left off, like the party's going to kind of go down the tube. So I feel like I'm doing the right thing by getting out here and being a fair conservative and kind of picking up exactly where Charlie left off. I feel like him and I shared a lot of the same values. I'm not going to go out there and chastise you and throw holy water at you if you don't agree with my opinion or you come at me a certain type of way, but I will respect you and I will come to you with respectful dialogue along the way. So I feel like this is kind of what this podcast is transitioning into. And I mean, the numbers are staggering. Just 2 weeks ago, 49 subscribers. Now we're just checked it a few minutes ago, and we're at 132. I mean, this is huge movements in the right direction, and I feel like we have a lot of headwind, and we're ready to continue this.
Yeah, I think it's very important that you are sharing your beliefs, sharing your ideas, because that's also something that Charlie Kirk stood for. He would debate students on college campuses, he would let them share their ideas, and he would share his ideas. And I think everyone develops their ideas from different experiences in their life. And I think it's important to be able to listen to other people and also to be able to share your own ideas. And if we're stuck in a world where we only hear one thing, first off, how boring is that if everyone were the same? Second off, there's no growth that can occur in that. I think it's very important to be able to challenge your ideas, challenge your beliefs, and maybe grow a little deeper in your own beliefs by being challenged, or maybe find a new perspective and maybe think of some things a little differently. But I do believe that in having this podcast and being able to share your ideas, that you are going to make a big impact on the world.
Yeah.
If not just the United States, I think that you will make a big impact on the world.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Every day is a little bit better. Even from I was reminiscing and going through the last or the first podcast that was produced, and I was looking at myself like that guy's a wackadoodle. And I know from some time from now, a month, a few months from now, a year from now, I'll look back at this podcast and I'll say what a wackadoodle that is. So
Yeah.
every day it gets a little bit better and a little easier.
I've seen it change a lot as
Yeah.
well. Your speaking is a lot more confident as well.
Yeah.
You're a lot more ready to be in front of the camera and
Right.
ready to share your ideas. When it comes to free speech and sharing ideas, what would you say to others who are afraid to speak their mind when it comes to politics and religion because they may be too young to understand, uneducated, or feel unprepared when it comes to criticism and debate?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like one of the biggest things that you can do is be well versed, research. Do your homework, do your research. Don't just go off the TikTok videos like everyone wants to share because there is so much misinformation out there. So doing your own research, figuring it out, really diving in instead of just doing the online scrolling as well. Pick up a good book. If you need some, I have some here. I'll mail some out if you want. And just understanding exactly what you're listening to. Additionally, don't be afraid to have debates. And if you want to start out really simple, what's your method of debating to start out
Yes,
to get
so
comfortable?
I actually told Martin to pick a side, waffles or pancakes, and to be able to defend his side, to defend his stance on whether waffles are better or pancakes are better. And then think about maybe why other people might like waffles or pancakes better, and then be able to find different ways of debating against that. So, like, I like waffles because they are crunchy, like they're a perfect amount of crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. And then they hold your syrup. But some people like pancakes because they soak in the syrup, you
Exactly.
know,
I'm a team pancake
and
over here.
because they're soft all around, you know. But I love when there's a little bit of texture to my food, you know,
That's fair.
that crunch just feels so good. And then you have your syrup just it's being held there. It doesn't roll off of the pancake. I don't even think pancakes really absorb the syrup, to be honest with you. So that's why I like waffles, is because they hold the syrup.
There we go.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you can find ways to just find a stance in something maybe as silly as waffles and pancakes and try to find a better way of explaining your stance and debating it with other people.
And then another thing, as conservatives, because I take it that's 99% of the audience that's listening to this, make sure you do it the respectful way. Do not go out there and make a fool out of yourself and things like that. Don't go out there throwing holy water or just saying you're going to hell or different things like this, because unfortunately, this is what I see online. And that is not the right way. If you want to win, if you want to do good by the conservative Republican image, you need to go out there. You need to do it the respectful way. Do not suit down to these lower levels. Don't do it. So, as a conservative, you need to know that you're almost a target within America, especially by the mainstream media, and you need to make sure you go out there, do it a respectful way, do it a good way. Even if you get a whole bunch of hate, even if they're screaming all these different things at you, you need to remain as respectful and calm as possible. And just if it gets to that point, just know you already won. Essentially, if you're getting called, fat, tall, short, whatever it may be, a receding hairline, that was one I got recently. You already know you won the argument.
Getting a perm in 2025.
Yeah.
Guys, his hair is
It's
naturally
natural, I
curly.
promise.
It
I
is.
promise. I
Yeah.
get it from my mom, so and my dad too. I'll give him some respect there.
Yeah, I think that's something that you see on both sides is people making a fool out of themselves. I know that we like to make fun of the left for it a lot of the times, but the right definitely does it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see it in. I wasn't gonna name names, but this one is just I've been seeing it all over the internet, and that's a person like Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, when I've studied psychology, actually, there's this thing called availability heuristic, where something bad may happen and it's actually going to be a lot more readily available in your mind. So, for example, do you remember a couple years ago when, like, the side of a plane flew off and everyone was like, I'm not getting on planes anymore?
Hmm.
You're actually a lot more likely to get into a fatal car crash
Right.
than get into some fatal plane accident.
Right.
And just because it happened once, now everyone's all of a sudden
Yeah.
like, "Oh my goodness, planes are not safe," they don't do these checks and all those things. And the same thing can be applied when we're talking about people of different perspectives. So you can think of leftists as being like, crazy, screaming their heads off. And I've definitely seen some leftists doing that, but I've also seen some leftists who are able to sit down and have a conversation. But because we're prone to seeing some things maybe that happen less often as something that does happen more often. I think it's important to kind of try to flip the script a little bit because the left definitely sees us that way as well. That there's these crazy Republicans saying crazy things. They don't know what they're talking about and they're just screaming their heads off and being crazy. So definitely educate yourself on what you're going to speak about and have respectful conversations with other people. Don't go screaming your head off at them. Make sure that you know what you're talking about so that when you do talk about it, you sound educated, you sound ready, and you're able to be respectful because you know what you're talking about. And then back along those lines of free speech and sharing your ideas, what goes through your head when you see all those comments on your TikTok of people saying podcast equipment is too cheap nowadays? Like you should have to go to college before you can make a podcast. What do you say about that?
Obviously, it's just I don't let it get to me personally. Honestly, the way I look at it is I must be doing something right if all these people are willing to comment their opinions. I really don't let it get to me. If I were to let it get to me, then I could never be president because I'd be a nervous wreck. And honestly, half these comments, I'd probably be a nervous wreck by now. So I don't let it get to me. I just say, hey, I must be doing something right. And then a lot of times I'll disagree with these people respectfully. I'll provide proof, and most of the time I won't get a response back. Or sometimes if I do get a response back, theirs doesn't really make much sense. So personally, it just kind of shows again of that theory that I kind of already won the argument if you're going to come after my looks or if you're going to come after anything besides the topic. So, and then as far as the podcast equipment, I can assure you that this is some top tier microphones. It just might be user error of me being a little too close to the mic or me not figuring out the exact volume that the mic should be on.
Do you think people need a college education to be able to use their First Amendment right?
No, not at all. I think that's very silly. But if that's what makes them sleep good at night, knowing that they commented that on my post, then I hope that they sleep very well.
You can definitely develop your own opinions and then do some personal research into it, but you don't need a college education to share your opinion online.
No, that is absolutely ridiculous. And I feel like half of these people that don't go to college are actually smarter than the college graduates. If you're out there listening and you're not a college graduate, you do you keep fighting, and hopefully I'll get to interview you on this podcast, or I can even go on and be an interviewee. So believe in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly believe that somebody sharing their ideas on the internet, oh, they're stupid for that. Well, then how about you share your own ideas on the internet if you think that you're so smart? So, did you do any sports in high school?
I did. As far as lettering in sports, I had done football, I did tennis, and I did soccer as well. I forgot about that one.
Did you letter in all three?
I did letter in all three. Football was technically an honorary one because I did it all the way through my junior year, and then I kind of had a little bit of a knee injury, so I went up to the broadcasting booth and I was able to announce the games. Yeah, I really enjoyed that because it was just fun. And one of the, not to get too much off topic, but one of my favorite moments is we were playing our biggest rivals, and that's Fort Myers High. I was from Cypress Lake, so we only play these individuals once a year, and they had won like the last 12 or 13 in a row. They were coming to home turf. We were expecting pretty much a very close game because we were a really good team, but we didn't know if we could make it all the way. So essentially, it goes all the way down to the fourth quarter. We're up by, I think, 1 or 2 points. Like, we're barely scraping by, and they have the ball with a minute left. Well, they complete a big pass over the middle, sets them up basically at the 20-yard line, and then there's like 15 seconds left. And then they do like a really good run, or it's a little dump off, something like that. They get down to the 1-yard line, and there's like 4 seconds left. And I remember being on the PA system. I'm like, I can't even look at this next play because, this is huge. They get the ball, they drive, they go, and they get stood up right there on the goal line. And I just remember I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? I just grabbed the mic. I said, the streak is over. The streak is over. Your Cypress Lake Panthers have won. And like the crowd went crazy. People on the other sidelines, Fort Myers High, they thought they had it in the bag. So there were some of them crying over there. But it was just such a huge deal. And I think that actually launched us into the playoffs, which made it even more of a big deal. So that was probably my favorite moment. And I'll probably remember that all the way until I die. It was so much fun.
Maybe a little bit of overconfidence bias.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, but
on the other side.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what brought them down in the end.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. I actually also lettered in high school, but I lettered in choir. But maybe sometime we could actually have a podcast where we talk about our high school experiences because high school is an interesting place. Also an interesting place to talk about politics.
Yeah.
So maybe future episode?
Maybe.
All right. And then what about now? Are you doing any sports now?
Currently there is on post they have a Army football team. It's all the different units on the post. They play football. So I was playing in that. We lost the other week, so now we are officially eliminated. But the last game is played on this Friday. We did make it to the playoffs, and we won a game in the playoffs, and that was about all she wrote. But yeah, I do love playing football, and then now I'll be getting back into my gym running regimen. So I look forward to that. But no, my football season is over.
Well, did you have fun during it?
Oh, absolutely.
What made you join the Army?
I remember I was really debating Well, first of all, I was an electrician before I went to the army. So I was up in Florida. This was when I lived in Florida. So I was up in 120, 140-degree attics working, and I was like, man, this really sucks. And then my boss at the time, I wasn't really a fan of him because I would have to pull an entire thick wire all the way through the attic from one side of the house to the other, and that's normally a two-person job. Well, because I was the cheapest person for an electrician because I was the youngest, he was like, no, no, you got it, because he could kind of avoid some of those labor costs. So I ended up doing it all by myself. And this was just, it wasn't like it was just a one off thing, it was multiple times. So, with that all being said, I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm good. Like, I'm really tired. I'm kind of burnt out of this. So my mom's like, well, maybe you should join the army as a joke. And then I started looking and I'm like, wow, they're offering some nice bonuses. Like, this actually looks like something I might do. So then I went to each branch, kind of got mixed results from each branch. And I was debating actually between the Marine Corps and the Army. And then I remember my Badgers, but this is college football. My Badgers played the Army, and I said if they get within 7 points, which the Badgers were favored by like 20 plus points, I'm like, you know what? I'll enlist for the Army. Well, they got within like 6 points, I believe. So I was like, well, I guess that kind of clears that up. I went to MEPS. I completed that, and they said, "Cool, 42 days until you ship out." And I shipped out, I believe, on January 5th of 2022. But why I did it, first of all, change, and then also I wanted to serve my country. I have a family legacy of people being in the military. So that was just another element and aspect of it. And then additionally, I knew that I did have political ambition. This strengthens and puts an extra bullet on the resume.
I feel like the military benefits are what get everybody, and then
Yeah.
they end up leaving it up to chance. I think one of my old friends, she's like, man, these benefits are really good. But if I like see or hear something about a snake today, then I'm going to join the army. And then like I played a song in my car that like mentioned like a snake, and she's like, "All right, I'm joining the army." I feel like that happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Or I feel like sometimes it's a dead end kind of thing.
Yeah.
People want change and then they end up doing it. Do you regret joining the army at all?
No, not at all. This has been my calling. This is what I needed, and this was definitely God's plan. And I'm glad I'm here and today, and I definitely have one of the better jobs in the U.S. Army for sure.
That's good. All right. So, what is one activity that you've always wanted to try, and why haven't you tried it?
I have not been out of the country yet, and I have not been on a cruise yet. So maybe 2026 has something in store for me to do that. But I think I'd really want to get out and travel a lot more. I've traveled up and down the East Coast and all over on this side of the U.S. I really want to explore my horizons and get out there and get across the entire world and see what's out there. And then additionally, a cruise. It just sounds like a lot of fun, unless you're on the poop cruise, the Carnival cruise. If you haven't seen the documentary on Netflix yet, it's a great one. But yeah, I really want to do a cruise as well. We'll see what 2026. Oh, and then, obviously getting married, having kids, I feel like that should be, I haven't tried that yet, but who knows,
Why
maybe.
haven't you?
Well, I just haven't found the one yet, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have something in the works here soon.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure interviewing you. It was lovely sitting in this seat. And then for all of you, thank you for joining us for this special episode of the Martin Memo. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Ask your questions for the cold monologue and tune in every Tuesday and Friday. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. This is the Martin Memo.
The Martin Memo.